Hi and welcome to this Solidworks tutorial for a set of honeybee inspired coasters. Throughout this tutorial you'll be shown how to use the fill pattern, add new planes using the guide sketch, mirror parts and combine them. The tutorial involves creating two parts, a coaster and a hive lid topper with a bee handle. I'm going to begin the tutorial by creating the coaster. To get started, begin a new part. Start a new sketch onto the top plane and draw a 100mm circle and extrude it by 4mm. Sketching onto the top face of the extrusion, draw a 6-sided polygon or hexagon in the centre of the circle. The inner circle dimension should be 6mm. Extrude cut this straight through the coaster. Now to create a fill pattern. Go to Insert, Pattern/Mirror and Fill Pattern. When the options box opens, you need to select the fill boundary face, which is the face of the coaster. The direction of the feature will automatically snap to one of the straight edges of the cut extrude. Just leave this as it is. For the features and faces to pattern, select Into the Features box and click onto the cut extrude. A preview of the feature should appear like this. I can play around with the pattern layout. There are several options to experiment with, but for this design I only want to use the perforation pattern. I want to bring the pattern closer together. To do this, I need to change the distance between the instances. For this design, I need an 8mm gap. I can also change the direction angle of the perforation. If I change this to 30, the design becomes more uniformed and spaced apart well. The last dimension controls the distance I will allow the design to go within or beyond the boundary. In this case, I want the design to pass over the edges of the face, so I keep the dimension at 6mm, which is the size of the instance. Finally, close the feature. Now that I have the honeycomb pattern, I'm going to make the coaster more rigid. Sketch onto the top face and draw a 100mm circle with a 90mm inner circle. Extrude the sketch by 2mm upwards and 8mm in direction 2 to create a 10mm extrusion, merging the result. Fillet the extrusion's outer edges by 5mm each. Sketching onto the bottom of the fill pattern, sketch a 90mm circle and offset the sketch inwards by 3mm. Extrude this by 6mm downwards and 4mm in direction 2, so that it is flush with the top face. Merge the result and OK it. This creates a foot feature to allow the coasters to be stacked. Fillet the bottom edges of the coaster foot by 1mm. This completes the coaster. With the coaster finished, I'm adding some decals to my design. I add my appearances in Solidworks Visualize, where I can edit them and apply them to the decals. Save the part, but keep it open as you're going to need this to create the cutouts in the coaster's hive lid. Start a new part and start a new sketch onto the top plane again. Draw a 90mm circle, extruding it by 2mm. Then sketch a 100mm circle on the top face of the extrusion and extrude this by 25mm, merging it all together. Selecting the top edge of the extrusion, open the fillet feature and change the fillet type to asymmetric. The side dimension of the fillet should be 20mm and the top should be 40mm. Fillet the bottom edge of the extrusion by 3.5mm. This creates the top part of the hive design. Next, select the bottom face of the part and use the shell tool to hollow out the lid by 3mm. Neaten up the foot of the lid by filleting the edges by 1mm. Before I create the bee topper, I need to add the cutouts to the lid. Start a new sketch on the top face of the lid and go back to the coaster part. Select the top face of the fill pattern surface and open a sketch. Select Convert Entities, select the face for entities to convert and select the All Inner Loops and OK the entities. Select all the sketch and copy it. Going back to the lid part. Paste the sketch in and use Move Entities to centre it to the lid. Change the sketch to construction lines. This may take a few seconds, but there's This may take a few seconds because there's so many entities. Once it's done, copy and paste one of the hexagons. Untick the for construction box and move it from its centre to here, centre to 3 of the hexagons. Selecting the circular sketch pattern, the feature perimeter should automatically snap to the centre of the model like this. Change the pattern instances to 6 and OK the sketch. Paste in another hexagon sketch and move it between these hexagons. Remember to untick the for construction box and use circular pattern again to create another 6 instance pattern to look like this. When I'm happy with the design and placement, I can extrude cut the sketch through all, ensuring it doesn't interfere with the lid foot. With the lid part complete, I can move on to creating the bee topper. The bee would be used to lift the lid from the coasters. Before I start the bee, I'm saving the part. To begin the bee, start a new sketch on the front plane. Use the centre line to sketch an 8mm line centre to the top of the lid upwards. Then use the line again, this time selecting the midpoint line. Draw a 13.5mm line. This dimension is always half the total length, so this creates a 27mm line. Use the ellipse and starting from the top point, go down to the start of the sketch and out by 10mm. You can input the width of the dimension here. Then use the circle sketch, start from the end of the ellipse to the end point of the midpoint line. Using the spline tool, I'm freehanding the bee's stinger. Make sure it has a nice rounded point and that it joins up to the ellipse here. Trim away the inner entities and those above the midpoint line. Then revolve the sketch from the top edge. Untick merge result, keeping the bee separate for now. Using move/copy bodies, select the bee for bodies to move and untick the copy box. I can use the triad to rotate the bee, or type in the value here. I'm rotating the bee 340 degrees on the Z-axis. Close the feature. Open move bodies again to move the bee more centred to the lid. You can't rotate and move along the XYZ axis at the same time, so you need to do this in 2 stages. Move the bee minus 1.5mm along the X axis and OK the feature. To create the bee wings, I need a new plane, and to do this I'm creating a guide. Sketching onto the front plane, I use the centre line and sketch approximately where I want the wings to sit on the bee. Close the sketch and selecting the front plane, then reference geometry and plane. The new plane options will open with the front plane as reference 1. The second reference is the guideline here. The new plane will snap into position ready to sketch the wing. OK the plane and start a new sketch on the plane, viewing it normal too like this. Use the circle sketch to draw a 6mm circle near the middle line of the bee. Then use the line sketch and attach it to the circle up to the middle line, back to the circle's edge. Change the dimensions of these lines to 10mm each, ensuring that the circle remains 6mm. Trim away the inner lines of the sketch so that the whole sketch highlights blue. Extrude the wing sketch by 1mm, untick and merge result, and fillet the sharp edge of the wing by 1mm. I'm now going to use move bodies again to move the wing into place. The wing should go into the bee's body on an angle from the top edge. You may need to play around with this to get it into the right position. But once I'm happy with its position, I can use mirror bodies to mirror the wing from the front plane. Again, keep the merged result box unticked. Moving on to the bee's antennas, I need another new plane. So like before, sketch another guide onto the front plane along the edge of the bee's head here. Select the front plane again, reference geometry, plane, and select the guide sketch as reference 2. As before, it should snap into position like this. Sketching onto the new plane, using the centre line, start from the centre of the bee's head and draw a 2mm line here, and then up by 1.5mm. Draw a 1mm circle from the centre of the end guide point. This is the start of the antenna. Extrude this circle by 7mm for now, untick merge result, and OK the feature. I'm using the flex tool to bend the antenna into place. Select the extrusion for the file input, keep the flex on bend, and change the angle of the bend until you're happy with its position. It's best to view the bee from the front while doing this. If your bend angle is too large, the antenna will come through the bee from the bottom of the extrusion like this. Decrease the bend until you can't see it anymore. With the bend angle at 35 degrees, I'm closing the feature. Before I mirror the antenna, I'm finishing it off with the dome tool. Selecting the end face, select dome. Change the dome dimension to 2mm to create a ball at the end of the antenna. Mirror the antenna from the front plane, keep Merge Result unticked, and OK the feature. I'm decreasing the length of the bee's antennas to 6mm, as I feel they're a little long. Once I'm happy with the bee, I'm using the Combine tool, ensuring that the operation type is on Add, selecting all the bee parts so that they highlight blue like this, and then selecting the coaster's lid. OK the feature. This merges all the bodies into one. With the part finished, I can add all my appearances and decals. I'm adding the same yellow decal to the part as the coaster, a black decal to the rest of the bee, a glass appearance to the bee wings, and finally stripes for the bee's body. These decals are all available to download if you'd like to follow the whole tutorial. Saving the part, I can create a new assembly. I can bring in multiples of the coaster using the drawing pin, which keeps the parts open to insert. I can make all the parts into place like this to create the final assembled design. I used my assembly to create an exploded view of the coaster set. The exploded view can be used to create animations like this one, which was rendered with Solidworks Visualize. Thank you for watching this tutorial.